Welcome to the Service Journal, the podcast that brings the stories of military service and leadership to life. Today, we're excited to welcome a very special guest, Lieutenant Colonel Jose Luis Montalvan of the United States Marine Corps and the president of the Association of Naval Service Officers. Lieutenant Colonel Montalvan's journey in the Marine Corps started back in 1995, and since then, he held numerous key roles, from leading Marines in the Operation Iraqi Freedom to managing logistics for the Marine forces in Japan. His career is marked by dedication, leadership, and deep commitment to serve his country. With degrees in criminology and national security strategy, and extensive experience in strategic and operational roles, Lieutenant Colonel Montalvan brings a wealth of knowledge and insights into military life, leadership, and the future of the Marine Corps. Today, he'll share experiences, the lessons he learned, and his advice for future leaders. Join us for the conversation about dedication, leadership, and service with Lieutenant Colonel Jose Luis Montalvan. I'm Manuel Calo, your host, and this is the Service Journal. Welcome, sir. How's it going? Welcome to the Service Journal. Appreciate the time. We've been talking about this for weeks now, and I do appreciate it for being here tonight.
Buenos días, buenas noches para ustedes.
Sí.
It's a bit late.
Yeah.
Yo estoy en Japón, and life is a little bit different because I'm 14 hours ahead of you.
Yeah.
Pero muchas gracias por tenerme aquí, and life is great. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I know that having a Marine in an Army podcast is different, but I love it because it shows that our jointness and our desire to work together, and that it doesn't matter what service you're in, right? We support each other, we encourage each other, and we assist each other in our mission and en nuestros sueños, que es lo más importante que podemos hacer para nuestras familias, para nuestros amigos y para toda la gente que nos mira y nos busca ejemplos para poder seguir. But thank you very much, and I just threw a lot of Spanglish in here.
I know. No, I know. We're trying to bridge that, between Spanish and English, and having that sweet spot so we can engage with our Latino community and our non-Latino community. But again, sir, welcome to the service. Again, it's a pleasure and honor to have you in my platform.
Thank you.
So let's start with for the audience. So let's set that stage. Like, who is Lieutenant Colonel Jose Luis Montalvan? Can you speak? Like, I know you're from Nicaragua, but can you start expanding on who is back in the day, and then we're gonna go through your life until now?
Yeah, no. So this is a great question when you say who I am, right? And I will tell you, like, right off the bat, we're going to go into different stories. We're going to go and talk about a little bit of experiences. And this is just my beliefs and my thoughts, my story. But when it comes down to my story, it's not unique, right? It's shared by so many Hispanics and Latinos across the nation that what I am about to share is just a little tiny grain of what everybody in this nation, when it comes down from, South America, Central America, and different, different countries that they immigrated from, experience and they've been through, right? So who am I? I was born in 1975 in Nicaragua, Managua, Nicaragua. My mom, I'm pretty big on education because my mom probably went to first grade for a day or two. And then, we couldn't afford it. My family back then, my grandma couldn't afford it. So my mom went back, they pulled her out of school, and she went back to making tortillas and tamales and nacatamales and stuff like that. But I come from a humble family, as you can imagine. And due to certain circumstances, in 1987, the government was, in revolutions and fighting the Contras and a bunch of other stuff. So they decided that the best thing for me was to immigrate to the United States. And so when you ask, who am I will tell you that I'm someone that comes from humble beginnings, someone that is an immigrant to the United States, who naturalized, who pursued, dreams and goals to make it possible. And one of the ways that I saw it was through the military, right? And since then, I joined the Marine Corps in 1995. I came in as a private E1, and now I'm a lieutenant colonel, which only about 8% of the officer corps makes it there,
Gotcha.
right? So who am I? I will tell you that that is who I am. My experiences are diverse.
Mhm.
You know, what I experienced in Guatemala, waiting for my visa, is really difficult to
Yep.
share, but it is.
Yep.
And then going through Mexico and going through the Rio Grande. When I told people that I swam the Rio Grande, I really was
Yep.
holding on to an inflatable
Wow.
tube
Yep.
coming across, right?
So I'm gonna show you a picture here, sir. So this is you back then. This is back in Nicaragua. This is your baby, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's
So
me.
that's you back in Nicaragua, and then like, can you have like a little story on how that travesty went from Nicaragua down to the U.S.? I know it's curious to mention that you came from humble beginnings, and it's great because like from that point, the humble beginnings to now is a big, like change in your life. It was tough of a tough process as an immigrant to come from the Nicaragua to the U.S.
Yeah. No, I will tell you this, that I had a little bit more than the average person, I would say, because my mom, at one point or other, because of hard work
Hmm.
and my dad as well working together, they were able to get a little restaurant going
Okay.
and they had a little bit more money, right? But I remember that my mom would wake up like 3 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, and go to the restaurant, starts cooking. We had a sitter, and I wouldn't even say a sitter, it was just someone that would watch us, right? And the house was the restaurant, so it was not like they were
Okay.
gone. It was just we were sleeping, right?
Got it.
Uh, so, but all I remember is my mom working really hard, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and working all the way through 7, 8, 9 o'clock, and I wouldn't see her much except when she was at work, right? And that happened all the way through when I was 11, when they decided to send me to the United States.
Okay.
And the reason was, like I said, um, the contrast and the Sandinistas were going back and forth. There was a lot of fighting going on,
Hmm.
and they were going to they sent a law or something and to inscribe and prevent kids who were boys specifically that were 13 or older from leaving the country,
Okay.
right? So my mom saw that as an opportunity to send me to the United States to live with my aunt, um,
I see. Mhm.
yeah, who I now call my mom, right?
Okay.
And they jumped on that opportunity, and my mom spent a lot. You know, she sold jewelry, whatever she had. She sold. She worked a lot longer. She reduced the number of. She had a couple employees. She reduced it so that she could get more money. My family in
Hmm.
Miami saved some money and save more money so that they could pay for the trip, right? And they decided that I was too young, so they were not going to send me alone, right? And they sent me with my uncle,
Okay.
and my uncle. So they needed to sponsor both of them, right? And to be able to get here, we tried to do it legally through the embassy. To my knowledge, right? That didn't play out well. We
Hmm.
didn't get the visa, so they decided to go through a traveling agency,
Okay.
and we got on the bus, right? And we never returned.
Wow.
The bus
Wow.
was going to Honduras and Guatemala, to Guatemala,
Okay.
and we got off Guatemala, and we never returned.
Oh wow.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so that was the trip to Guatemala. But then after that, Mexico, there was, it's a big country.
Mhm.
There was a lot of things going on. Everybody knows, and I've said it multiple times, right? Everybody knows that who's an immigrant, who's coming from, who's not from Mexico, who's not from Guatemala, and we became targets, and
Oh
even
wow.
to this day,
Oh,
everybody
okay.
knows, right?
Gotcha.
So they try to take advantage of you or try to rob you or they try to
Mm.
stab you to get the belongings. So
Mm.
it's a really dangerous trip, a journey
Mm.
that a lot of people that are seeking a better life
Mhm.
make.
Mhm.
So like I go back and say I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
There's so many of us in this country and so many of us that are contributing to the economy, contributing to the
Mhm.
welfare
Yep.
and benefits that come with the future
Yep.
generation. The most important thing is that we have a lot of us serving in the military, trying
Mhm.
to
Yep.
protect this nation that
Mhm.
has given us so much.
Mhm.
So it's a journey, but I tell you that when we get here, we do everything, anything to pay it back. Not everybody does, but the majority of us
Yep.
do that, and we fall in love with the opportunities, the
Yep.
liberties, and everything that this country has to offer us. So That's one of the reasons I joined, right?
Mhm.
But the main thing is I wanted to follow my dreams and my goals, and I didn't have money. I wanted to travel. I didn't have money. So there's a lot of things that we do looking for a better future, and it never stops. And it's something that we always tell our kids. It's something that we tell our family members never to quit, and something that we try to pass down to our fellow service members, regardless of what branch they are.
Yes, sir. So I think this is a great you to share this, right? So there's a lot of immigrants, right? They come into the U.S. Seeking for that opportunity. A lot of them they just cross and start like trying to get jobs and follow their dreams. And you were able to actually follow your dream by joining the Marines. That we were gonna get there at that point, and what motivated you. But we know the motivation, right? Because you were seeking to travel, you didn't have the money, you wanted to be somebody, and that drove you to start entering the armed forces. Now, when you came to the U.S., you got adopted by Hialeah. I think this is something that you mentioned. You're an adopted son from Hialeah, Florida. So speak about that. Like, okay, so you got to Hialeah. What happened? So, okay, so this is Jose Montalban
So,
in the new city of Hialeah, Florida. Speak up about
well, Hialeah, there's a lot of Cubans, a lot of Nicaraguans, there's a lot of Colombians, right? So it's la ciudad que progresa, right? I love my city. It's something that I would never, I would never turn down. Never, I would never say bad things about Hialeah. It's beautiful.
that.
For what I needed and for what everybody that lives there needs, and it's a great place to grow, right? Not necessarily um, the best wealthy place is not necessarily like the most beautiful place, but
Mhm,
it's what we need whenever we come from a different country,
mhm.
right? So Hialeah provided me a place where I could speak Spanish, a place where I could get some Cuban bread, un pan cubano,
Y
lechon, right?
un cafecito cubano también. Bueno que es.
Sí, de todo. And my dad, who I call my dad now, right? He's Cuban.
Okay.
So, he, like the cafecito, la cortadita, todo eso
Mhm,
is things that bring me back. Whenever I see it, I take one coffee or I take pan cubano or, pan con bistec and all those things. But it's what we needed, what I needed at
mhm,
that time, right? So in there, there's obviously kids from different countries, different backgrounds, different thoughts. But he allowed me to be able to communicate and allow me to feel comfortable, and at times a little bit too comfortable, right? Because it was I don't know if I want to speak English because I speak Spanish, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
why would I want to do that? Pero it's that Hialeah is a city that welcomes everybody, that continue to have big dreams, continue to assist the Hispanic community.
Mhm,
It's a Hispanic community, to be honest. That's a city for Hispanics, and it has a little bit of everything. So I would tell you that Hialeah is great for what I needed.
mhm.
Some other people might think that might not be, but for me, in my perspective, it is what I needed at the time, and it
Eso.
provided me a place to be able to grow, and a place to be able to develop a little bit more and play
Mhm.
and feel comfortable as I came to the United
Yeah,
States.
so I have a picture here about that moment. So speak us about this picture right here.
All right, so that's my first day in Miami. I had just landed. I
Wow.
love Uvelle, right? And that shirt, I got it out of when I crossed the Rio Grande. There was in Bronxville, there was a little place where they would accept immigrants, and they would give them refuge, right? And they would give them clothes, and they would give them everything. So they gave me that sweater,
Nice.
and that sweater, I had it, and I used to wear it every single day.
Wow.
Uh, and it was because for the first time, that was the first thing that I received out of the United States. I didn't have much, but it was mine,
Mhm.
right? It was mine, so I wear it every single day. And when I got to Miami, I was wearing it, and it was hot, but I was still wearing it. And the next day it was hot, and I still wore it. And my aunt said, "I'm gonna get rid of this sweater." So whenever I was not looking, she packed it up and she threw it.
Wow.
And I cried and I got upset. And she was like, fine. So we went to the garbage. dumpster and we pulled it out. I had
Wow.
to go through all the bags, but I found my sweater. And but I tell you that was my first sweater for a long, long time. I started getting holes, and it was time to go. But everything in that plastic bag,
Hmm.
everything that is in there is what I came with.
Wow.
Everything that is in there is what I crossed.
Hmm.
That is what I came to the United States with.
Hmm.
¿Puedes enseñarla de nuevo?
Sí, sí, sí. Un segundo por aquí, lo pongo enseguida. Y aquí está. Bello.
So, todo lo que tengo en mi posesión cuando yo llegué a los Estados Unidos está en esa bolsa plástica. Y yo sé que hay bastante gente que pasan y siguen pasando lo mismo, que vienen de otros países y lo único que traen es lo que tienen en esa bolsa plástica. Y es bien difícil venir a los estados, no conocer lo que va a pasar, no saber lo que va a pasar. Y con uno cosas que son tan pequeñas que para nosotros nos valora bastante. Y esa camiseta que yo tengo es lo que yo apreciaba bastante y la usaba todos los días. Pero todo lo que han pasado, cosas como yo y que llegaron a este país con una bolsita plástica, pero ahora están haciendo más de lo que pensaban, o los padres llegaron con una bolsa plástica, lo comento porque tuvo bastante trabajo, dedicación y perseverancia para llegar a donde están ustedes
Claro.
y te digo que aprecio todo lo que han hecho y sigan para adelante.
Sí. I appreciate it, sir. Gracias por mostrarnos y darnos ese mensaje. Thanks for sharing that story because this is a powerful story on that T-shirt. Do you still have the T-shirt? I'm just like having the
The
question.
sweater? No, I
It's
don't
okay.
have the sweater. Is everybody started making fun of me when in school and stuff like that, so I started wearing it a little bit less. But
It's okay.
but
But it has a
I
significance. Has a powerful significance. Tiene un mensaje poderoso, ¿no? Porque it was your first sweater in the US and the dream you're about to pursue.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Same.
okay, and then okay, so once you got to the Hialeah, what's next? So you graduated from the Broadband Opportunity for Selection, Officer Selection and Training Program in 2000. And then you are a Florida State University as well, alumni. Can you speak about that? Your education once in the U.S. and then how you started to get interested in the armed forces.
Yeah, I went to North Three Lake uh, Elementary School in Hialeah. Then after I went to Miami Lakes Junior High School, or middle school actually, and then I went to Hialeah Miami Lakes Senior High. Amazing school. I loved it. I ran cross country and track. I played a little bit here and there. I used to go to the basketball court and do all that. But the school was great. I had a great background when it came down to the teachers that were willing to help me out. I remember Miss Kelly in middle school that she was really strict, and I couldn't understand that until she told me that the reason why was because I was trying to fit in, but the most important thing that I needed to do was to maximize my intelligence and my smartness, right, and do the best that I could. And after she had that conversation with me, I started putting more emphasis in school, right. So she had a powerful message that I still remember like it was yesterday. In high school, I had Coach Evans, Coach Speeds, and I had a couple of the coaches that always saw me for who I was, not necessarily for what where I came from, my background. And they did a lot of great things for us, and they always worked on um on helping us, right, and encouraging us to apply for school and
Mhm.
colleges and stuff. So it didn't matter what we did, but there was always an acceptance. Joe Hasera used to come in and coach cross country with us and run, right? And he always talked to us and he would encourage you to be better, to strive and go to school. But most of us were immigrants, right? And we didn't have a resident card, we didn't have
Mhm.
work permits, we didn't have citizenship. So for us, it was kind of like a dream that was never going to happen. It was not going to materialize, but they kept on pushing us and they kept on believing. And I think that is why most of us that were in those teams ended up going to, who were immigrants, right? Ended up going to Miami-Dade Community College, ended up going to FIU. And even though we couldn't get grants and we couldn't do, we couldn't get scholarships and stuff, we pursued, for the most part, some type of education.
Okay,
But
and how
yeah,
difficult? Sorry to cut you off. So how difficult was with the language? Any language barrier at the moment for the English and the Spanish?
oh, yes, of course. The accent, right? We
Mhm.
were afraid and we were concerned because of the accent.
Mhm.
Especially when you first get in here, your accent is really thick.
Like, mhm.
You're self-conscious. People judge you because of the way you speak or mispronounce words. So it was challenging, and I learned to write a little bit better and better every day. And I would try to focus on writing
Okay.
versus speaking, right? So I went through high school most of the time without speaking, and I would try to avoid as much as I could, and I would answer what I needed to answer.
Mhm.
But I was self-conscious on the accent. I was self-conscious on how I was communicating. So every time that I turned in a paper, especially for English, it would get destroyed, right? It was kind of like turning in your paper to the XO and it comes back all red.
Yep.
So that's how I felt coming back from the teachers, right? But it was challenging. So, but most of the stuff that we did and taught, especially when we were with the track team and the cross country team, we had a group of us that would always be joking around and speaking in Spanish and everything else. So it continued with, yeah, they might make fun of us because of the car. We got old cars. It's like 1994, but we're driving a 1972 car.
Yep.
We might be made fun because we have to run to, 5 miles, 6 miles to make it to the high school. But we knew that at the end of the day, we would get together and we would laugh and we would joke, and it was fun. But the high school experience was great, and I had the opportunity just because I had coaches and teachers that encouraged me. I had the opportunity to pursue additional dreams by becoming more educated and continue to learn. Uh, Florida State happened because I applied for Marine, like the Brian's program that you were talking about,
Uh-huh.
the and I was selected. I went to Rhode Island for boost, and then after that, it was not a guarantee for MISEP, but I had an opportunity to get MISEP, and just the circumstances that were there, I ended up going to Florida State, and I
Okay.
got a degree in criminology. And the reason for that is just I love wanting to be a lawyer and thinking about crime and delinquency and how that works and how that plays out.
Mhm.
So I decided to pursue a degree in criminology, and I learned a lot through internships. I learned a lot through reading and how people think on how those criminals did, what they did and how to prevent it and how to study it and how to do implementation to try to get better through the criminal system. So I loved it, and it was a great opportunity through the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps gave me that. And I think that there's programs like that in the Army as
Gotcha.
well.
Mhm.
Enlisted to officer.
Yep.
I
Yep.
know that we have those programs in the Coast Guard. We have those programs in the Navy, and I
Uh-huh.
think we have in the Army as well, right?
Yeah, so that was my next question. So can you explain about the MISA program for those doesn't know about any and they're looking para lo que están buscando el Marine Enlisted
See,
Commission
see.
and Education Program.
So I will tell you, it's not just the Marine program, like we said, right? Now
Yeah,
that I know that the Army
right.
has it,
Hmm.
if you're enlisted and you want to pursue your degree and while on active duty,
Hmm.
there's programs out there for most of the service. I think all the services have them
Hmm.
where they encourage our enlisted service members to apply for
Yep.
them. And if you qualify and you get selected, you're sent to go to college.
Yep.
And upon completion of college, after either OTS or college, like for us, Officer Candidate School, you get to
OTC.
be commissioned,
Yep.
right? Yeah, that's another thing, right? Because they send you to college and you're attached to
Hmm.
a NROTC, a
Yep.
Reserve Officer Training Corps,
Hmm.
or a Naval Reserve Training Officer Corps
Yep.
unit in that college, and you get the college experience. You stay active duty,
Hmm.
but most importantly, you get your education and you get
Hmm.
opportunities that you might have missed because you couldn't afford it when you were 18 and you
Yep.
enlisted.
Yep.
So I would say that I encourage
Hmm.
every service member that is listening to this, enlisted service member that qualifies to try.
Hmm.
And I would say that if you don't apply because you don't think that you might be selected, your answer is already no before you even apply because you never applied.
Hmm. Yep.
So the worst thing that can happen is that you spend maybe 10, 12 hours putting the package together, or maybe more. But then after that, you get a yes or a no. And if you get a yes, you get to go to college and you get active duty years and you get to learn. And then after that, you get to have the privilege to lead our server and list of service members and be an officer in any of our branches. And
Mhm.
that is such a privilege and honor that I encourage anyone to go after if
Yeah,
they
yes,
qualify.
yes, sir. Definitely, you hit the nail on the head because like every branch has their own program like ROTC, the Green to Gold ROTC, for example, in the Army, and then the Marines, the Navies, they have. So whoever is listening out here and then they want to look for these programs, they are available for you. I've been mentoring some enlisted soldiers, and I've been talking about these different programs. Sometimes they don't know about them, or they just like they're ignorant to the fact that each branch has their own path to become an officer. We're just trying to raise the awareness that there's possible for you to be from enlisted down to the officer side. I'm gonna show you a picture here, sir. So, what's the significance of this
Another,
picture?
another one. This one is I'm getting promoted, I believe, to Lance Corporal in Okinawa, and
Okay.
that's Camp Corp. So this is, if I'm correct, it's in 1996,
Mhm.
right? December 1996. So you see the date. That's taken with a Kodiak camera that I had developed, right? So
don't, don't
I've
don't
been in the Marine Corps for a long,
don't
long
do the
time.
math, mi gente. Don't do the math right now.
Te voy a decir, 27 años, right?
Wow.
27 años. Uh, but this is I went to the same place just about 2 months ago.
Wow, this is insane. Like 27 years later, that's all I'm about to say because you're in Japan right now.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
is so crazy unique that in the armed forces you can come back to the place you were 20 something years ago.
yeah. And and it's funny because I went to that place. I took a video of that building, and I said that is the building where I was when I made a decision that I
Wow.
wanted to become an officer, right?
Mhm.
And I wanted to go take that picture. I wanted to go see that because for me, I don't know if I'm ever going to come back right to Okinawa unless I decide to take a trip on vacation,
Mhm.
right? But I wanted to go back and say after 27
Wow.
years, look at what I've done and just living that moment, right? So yeah, no, pero te voy a decir, and I'll say it in Spanish and I'll
Mhm.
translate it in English. Cuando nuestros reclutadores, no importa de qué servicio, ¿verdad? Van a hablar con nuestros padres hispanos. Ellos siempre dicen, es mentira que ellos van a poder ir a coger una educación. Uh, es mentira que ellos van a poder ser oficiales, como dices, que hay oportunidades para eso. Es mentira que pueden ser enlistados, después pueden ser oficiales. Y esa foto, y después vas a ver otra foto, vas a enseñar otras fotos,
Sí.
demuestran que nuestros reclutadores, no importa de qué servicio están diciendo, they're speaking the truth, right? So when they go and talk to parents and they're talking to them about, yes, there's opportunity for education, there's opportunity going from
Mhm.
enlisted to officers, we tend to believe that that is not the case because our parents believe that the service that we have right now is similar to the one in our, what they experience in our country or
Yeah.
their grandparents experienced in their country.
Mhm.
But we do have opportunity for education. We do have opportunity for enlisted to officer, and we have travel opportunities because other than that, I wouldn't be there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's for work, and I was TAD, right? And I went for lunch, and my lunchtime was to go and take a picture of that.
Yep.
Pero
Yep.
it's something that is there and is true, and it happens.
Yeah, so I have done the same thing that you sir. So when I was a cadet, I remember back in 2008, I was a Air Force cadet. I did not commission through the Air Force, but I was a cadet. Fast forward, 2019-20, I was a captain, and I was in the same place that I was as a cadet back in 2008. Like almost like 11 years later, 12 years later as a captain, even the U.S. Army. But I know the sentiment. I know the feeling that you were in a place before, and now after all this path, it is great. It's good to hear that. Um,
Yeah.
and then, okay, so you mentioned that you obtained your bachelor's in science and criminology. But then, how the logistics shows you, like in the Marine Corps? Because we know that you're a logistician right now. So how that happened?
Well, I grew up, and every time it was my mom saying, my aunt, right, like who I call my mom, saying, "Hey, make sure that you get a degree. Make sure that you do something that translates back to the civilian
Hmm.
sector. Make sure that you come back and you are able to continue to get paid and
Hmm.
and have a good job, right?" So when I went through the basic school in Quantico, you get an opportunity to highlight and rank all the jobs available, and you go
Hmm.
one through whatever number it is. And my number one was logistics, right? And I wanted to do that because I always have my mom in my background in my head as well, telling me, "Hey, make sure that you get a degree that is going to help you transition. Make sure that you get a job that is going to help you transition." So I decided to go after logistics because I thought, hey, there's always logistics, there's always jobs, there's always companies that require logistics. So I'm going to go after that. And he also provided opportunity for command and opportunity to travel and opportunity to be a staff officer and opportunity to do all the things. So I decided number one was logistics. And then after that, because of the grades and the way that I fell out in my rankings, I had the opportunity to get logistics and I'm happy with it. And I've done a lot of great things with logistics. I've traveled. I've done Theater Security Corporation and worked with partner nations.
Hmm.
I work with other militaries from other countries, right? Cambodians and Malaysians and military from Bahrain and now in Japan and people, military from Qatar or Qatar, so there's a lot of things that have come up through logistics and the selection that I made back then. So it was a great opportunity,
Yeah.
and it
So
still is.
Definitely, and you're right, sir. So, tienes toda la razón. Cuando nosotros escogemos los trabajos, nuestros trabajos, when we choose our jobs, I always tell my soldiers, like, hey, trying to select something that translates to the civilian side. If you want to do this for 3 years and then get out from the armed forces, make sure you take all the experiences from the armed forces and translate in the civilian sector. Logistics is a broad, like, aspect. Like, there's many logistics jobs out in the civilian sector. So we encourage always that the everything you do in the armed forces translate to your civilian, because at one point we're gonna hung the monkey suit, right? So we have to retire, and then we have to make sure we get all these values from the armed forces.
Yeah, but I will tell you that I would throw in something into it, right?
Hmm.
And I will add to this, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
and it's part of our responsibility as mentors. Um, I came in thinking that I was going to get out after 4 years. I'm
Okay.
at 28 years plus, and I'm
Yep.
still going,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So no one in the time they always said, "Hey, work it through, expand, and like something that transition."
Hmm.
But nobody talked to me to a certain degree as to if you go infantry, the chances of becoming a general officer increases, right? If you go combat arms, the chances of you becoming a general officer increases, or
Hmm.
the chances of you being a sergeant major increases.
Hmm.
So as we're going through, we got to also provide that opportunity and that knowledge to our soldiers, Marines, Coasties, sailors, right? That there's specific things because we're still a military,
Yep.
right? As we're going through, yes, we might get out and need to transition, but at the same time, if we're thinking or even have the idea or the dream or maybe getting to O6 or getting to E9 or getting even higher, right? Being the senior enlisted for the Army or the senior enlisted for the Navy and stuff. Those things need to also play out because there's also a path.
Hmm.
And even though we can say logistic transitions, the chances is that there's not that many logisticians, general officers,
Hmm.
or E9s going around being the sergeant major or the Marine Corps sergeant major of
Yep.
the Army.
Yes, sir.
So we got to offer those opportunities as well for them to understand that those paths that you might pursue might not get you or yield you those highest rank
Hmm.
that comes up within the military because there's specific things that are required for that.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Again, so each rank or each branch or job, they have their specific path, and you're totally right. For example, like the infantry, and I'm gonna re-mention what you said. So infantry has the most more possibilities to be a higher ranking officer in any other
Yeah.
rankings, just because it's the nature of the job, right? So I think
Yeah.
what the person has to do, or the soldier, the marine, or the navy, the sailor or the airman, they have to look, or what do they have to, what's their path, how I want to
Yeah.
engage this. I always teach that, hey, just look 5 years forward, every 5 to 10 years, like long range plan, because like plan changes, right? But at least you have to your short plan, and then you have your long plan established, and then you
Yeah.
can actually have different plans along your career.
Yes. Completely agree with you.
So I'm gonna show you another picture time for you. So to speak to us about this picture.
Oh, that was I don't remember why I took that picture, but I was a corporal, as you see the chevrons on the right hand side, right?
Mhm.
And I was just I don't know how the photographer got me to smile, but there's
Okay.
some pictures that are formal pictures that I get to smile, and one of them are, it's on the board of directors webpage where I'm smiling. But I usually do not smile for formal pictures, but something was going on that day that made me smile,
Okay.
and I have it and I still keep it. But that is from, I believe that's 1997, 1998. So it's a while back.
Yes, yeah, don't, mi gente, don't do the math. I'm just kidding. So 27 plus years in the army. So 1996, I was graduating from elementary. That's why, that's why I can go back. But it's okay, sir. Okay, so you commissioned in 2002 as a second lieutenant, and then you did a lot. You started to do a lot of stuff in the Marine Corps as a logistician. So what was your first duty station in the Marines as a second lieutenant, and how was that experience for you?
So the first duty station was 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines, out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And they told me when I was going through log school, logistics school, if you want to find out what you're made of and you want to see if you're going to be able to make it as a logistician, you go to an infantry battalion. So I requested and requested and requested, and I got fortunate to go to 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines to support the infantrymen and everyone in that battalion that we ended up going to Iraq with.
Mhm.
And, so I was we did convoys, we did we supported combat operations, we supported a bunch of things, and but I found out that you got to be on the ground, you got to be with your soldiers, Marines, and coasties and sailors, right? You got to understand what they're going through before you start like going up through the ranks, so that way you take it and gain an appreciation of what they go through, how they risk their lives to protect this country. And I tell you, I learned a lot, and some of my fondest memories is from that deployment. Right, it was dangerous, it was it was combat, but the officers got together and they would support each other, and they would do everything, anything for each other, right? And one time, actually not more than one time, almost every single time,
Mhm.
we're going on convoys, and I would go talk to the infantry company XOs, and I would say, I need weapons on my vehicles, right? And they would give me as many weapons as they could, and every vehicle had a machine gun. I don't remember a time that any of our convoys didn't go out with a machine gun in every vehicle. And then obviously we needed to clean it and stuff, but they never pushed me away. They never said no, and they were always there for me. So it's some of the fondest memories, but obviously because of the situation, not because of you know of some of the experiences, right? Because we never want to be in combat, we
Mhm.
never want to be in those situations, but the relationship that were built because of the situation are still there.
Mhm.
And even though we don't talk as much with everybody, we follow each other, and we make some comments on and off about pictures and videos that that we share.
Yeah. So any key leadership lessons that you learned that you want to highlight out of that deployment from Operation Iraqi Freedom that you want to share?
Yeah, I would say that one of my biggest lessons was collaboration, right? We need to work together to be able to accomplish the mission. At times, right, we let our emotions get in the way. We
Mhm.
get a little bit of our pride, a little bit of our ego, regardless of what rank you are, officer or enlisted. But most importantly, we got to remember that this is not about us; it's about the team. And And I learned that, right? It's all about each other. And regardless if you're in combat or not, collaboration and cooperation and assistance is really critical to be able to accomplish the mission and to, most importantly, to help each other out to better ourselves, right? If we help each other out, we get to help someone else to progress, to go to school,
Mhm.
to get college degrees, to to achieve different ranks and dreams, and help with their family. So it expands with it beyond the military, the collaboration and cooperation that we need to be able to provide to each other. And I will tell you that that's probably one of the biggest things that I learned is the human factor. Love each other, treat everyone with dignity and
Never
respect as much as you can.
Mhm.
And whenever that doesn't happen because you let your emotions get in it, don't be don't be stubborn and go back and say, I apologize. I made a mistake and I let my whatever situation impact me.
Mhm.
And I want you to know that that's not me and that's not what I want you to remember me by.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry. Don't be big enough to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then one thing as well, I think once we wear these uniforms, we are one big brother and sister, family. Like doesn't matter you're Latino, you're black, you're white, Caucasian, whatever the case may be. At the end, we are fighting for one cause, right? And then we all fighting together as a brothers and sisters.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
yeah. So now, so for the deployment, now you transition to be the executive and operation officer for recruiting station in Albuquerque, New Mexico. How was that experience for you? Now becoming in that recruiting duty station for you.
Well, they told me once again that if you wanted to find out what you were made of, you go to recruiting. Right? It's right. So guess what I did? I said, okay, sign me up. I want to go find out what I'm made of, and if this is probably the most difficult tour that is going to be there, I want to find out. Right? And I went to be the recruiting operations officer and executive officer in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Um, and then, 10 years after I left that tour, I went back to be the district operations officer for the 6th Marine Corps District.
Mhm.
So I got 2 tours of recruiting in my background. But most importantly, I help our recruiters and post their messages and post their stories. But I will tell you, it was really difficult. It was a difficult tour. Everybody knows, right? Everybody in the service is like, I don't know if I want to be a recruiter, but I can tell you that I go back and some of the experiences and lessons that I learned doing recruiting
Mhm.
still carry on to this day and
Mhm.
beyond that, right?
Well,
It helps me become more personable. It helps me relate to people a little bit more. It helps me listen to people a little bit more because they teach you how to listen instead of just running your mouth, right? So there's a lot of things that come with recruiting, but most importantly, I will tell you, regardless of whatever branch it might be a challenging mission, especially now, but they're making a difference
yeah.
and they're changing people's lives they can find in the service. So I'm a big proponent for anyone, regardless of service, to go and give it a shot and go to recruiting. You're going to be tested. You're going to have long hours.
Mhm.
You're going to have to sacrifice a little bit, right?
Mhm.
You might not feel comfortable speaking to people, but the change that you're going to have in people's life and the change and the contributions that you're going to be providing for your service is unparalleled. And if you do it to the best of your ability, you will make changes for the service, and you're going to assist the services achieve their mission in the long run because we need people and we need talented people in our services.
Yes, sir. And then my question to you then, what was the main challenge that you experienced during the recruiting on that duty station? And then what do you think, what was the recruiting, what strategy proved to be most effective to recruit Marines to recruit people for the Marines?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge was we went from, a standard mission to a mission that was probably twice as high because we were going into the increase of combat operations, right? So we had a spike of people
Mm,
coming in and we needed that. And that's during the time that I was the recruiting XO and OPSO, right? So the first day that I walk in is the day, I think it was like within the first couple of days, is the day that we get notified that our mission just went up twice as much or whatever it was. I can't remember, right? But I know that it went up. So the biggest challenge was adapting to that, adapting to the long hours, and being able to understand that there was a purpose to working those long hours. There was a purpose as to making sure that we made the mission and finding the best qualifier or the qualified individuals to go in and be screened and and basically giving them the opportunity to become a Marine. So a lot of us, we worked, right? I did not, and I will tell you that I worked hard, but I can tell you that our recruiters on the streets, our staff in CYCs work
Hmm.
harder,
Hmm.
and and they challenged and they met every challenge. And even though sometimes I pushed them and I know that I got them upset as the OPSO, as the operations officer, there's not a day that I don't thank them, because without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at, right? Those two tours, as the district OPSO and as a recruiting station OPSO and EXO, um, my success is not my success. It's just a portion of it, right? It's my success is contributed because of the results of those staff in CICs and Marine recruiters on the streets. And I thank them every day for everything that they do. And regardless of branch, I would say thank you for what you're
Yep.
doing, because without them, we don't have the military
Hmm.
that we need so that we can protect our country. So if you're in doubt to become a recruiter, I would say don't. It's going to be difficult, and you know that is going to be difficult. But the change and the opportunities you're going to offer are once in a lifetime, and I'll tell you that you are going to see the benefits. So don't be hesitant. Go and help our recruiters, and by either volunteering or assisting them. But if nothing else, right? But if you had an option, don't be hesitant to get out there and become one of our recruiters on the streets.
Yes, sir. So definitely, like our recruiters are the ones making the money for our armed forces. Because without them, we cannot continue mission, right? So we encourage them to continue doing what they're doing, because they're a critical and vital role on what they do. There's long hours. I know plenty of my NCOs. They've been selected. Right now, I just interviewed two interviews ago one of the recruiters that he used to be my NCO, and I know they're working hard, but what they do is not going away. It's not going from granted. We appreciate what they're doing, so we encourage them to do what they're doing as a recruiting for all the branches, not only for the Marines, but I'm talking about across the armed forces. So
Yes.
let's transition from company grade officer now to field grade officer. So how was that transition for you, coming like from like junior grade officer, company grade, now to a field grade? And then I think the next job for you was expeditionary branch officer in charge at the Marine Corps Logistic Operations Group. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, most of the tours have been correlated, right? It was one after another,
Hmm.
and continuously and build from one to another. But the challenges of going in from being a company grade officer to a field grade officer is basically the way that you detach yourself a little bit from being the helicopter officer, right? Now becomes more as to you said the you set the orders, you tell people what they're going to do or what we need to get them done, like to get done for the mission or for the requirements, and then you give them a lot more rope, right? So you go from doing to a little bit more leading and managing. So it's really important that we as leaders, we develop our junior officers to understand that we can trust in our service members, we can trust on our enlisted, we can trust on our warrant officer, and we can trust on our junior officers. Regardless of what's going on, we're always going to struggle with that, right? Because we're going to have more experience to a certain degree and more knowledge on certain things. And we're going to want is like, well, if I get it done right now, or if I need to just do it, it's going to take me 5 minutes. And this gal is taking them an hour. I cannot believe it. But it's part of the development, it's part of the teaching, it's part of the mentorship, right? So if I do it, they won't get to do it. They won't get an opportunity to do those things, and they won't get an opportunity to make mistakes and learn from them. So the transition from a company grade to a field grade is really critical for the development of that officer, but at the same time in the development, personal development. So we got to take a step back to be able to teach the next generation that if something happens to me, you're going to be okay because you already learned through mistakes and experiences and opportunities that I provided you. So I would say that that would be the number one thing that I would tell people is trust them, believe in, and then provide some course correction if there's something that it's not getting done correctly, or the things that you're expecting, or there's a misunderstanding. But if something is not getting done correctly, don't think that that is because the individual, for the most part, right, is doing it because they don't want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't know how to do it. It might be the way that I communicated, or I asked them to do something that might be different. And maybe I was not clear enough on what I was asking. So I will say that will be the biggest lesson. But when it comes down to expeditionary and Marine Corps logistics and everything else, it has been just kind of like similar, right? Different lessons, different opportunities, different thoughts that develop because it's part of learning and making mistakes. And if we tolerate a little bit of the mistakes, as long as it's once or twice, we're going to be okay, right? Because that is going to get us better later on when we need to perform without making mistakes.
Yes, sir. And again, like you mentioned, like your career has been all nested, right? So you're going from one place to another, and it's being interlocked. It is great to see how you pass from all these experiences, and you continue to grow as a leader in the Marines. Let's not pass the focus back. You were back in Nicaragua, and now you're all the way in Japan, right? So it is great how we can see your transformation throughout the Marine Corps. Now, I see in your profile that you serve as an integrated missile defense watch commander and the Global Ballistic Missile Defense Training Education Exercise Director. Can you speak like what that job entails, and then what was your biggest challenge in that job?
Well, there's a lot of things that I cannot share about that job,
Yeah,
right? This
just
is
whatever you can share, like overall, not specific questions.
so, but I will say it's just it was my joint tour,
Okay,
learning to work
okay,
with
gotcha.
airmen and learning to work with soldiers and learning to sailors. And it was not even a challenge; it was just a learning experience,
Hmm.
right? The
Hmm.
different cultures, the different opportunities, the different way that we see the world. But I won't tell you that it's a challenge that those tours. I think it was more of a learning opportunity. I got to see different aspects from the different services that to this day help me because I'm back in a joint environment, but I'm not in a joint billet. But I'm interacting with all those services and I
Hmm.
know what they're going through because of what I did in that tour and who I met and who mentored me because there were all sixes and all fives there
Hmm.
and GS 14s and GS 15 that took the time to once again help me and talk about professional development and personal development and opportunities out there for the military um, and opportunity for the civilian sector. So I won't say that when I served for IMD, it was a challenge. I think it was more of learning opportunities and learning more about myself
hmm
and learning more about others. So it was a great experience.
Yeah, it's because it's a joint tour, right? So for those that's listening, the all armed forces are working for one goal, and then like we have to communicate one each other, understand how Marines communicate, and understand how the Army. Although we have similarities, sometimes the lingo is different, right? So we're talking about something, we have to come together. It's like you're speaking about X, Y, and Z, and then in the Army we like to short everything, like I assume in Marines too, right? So we just like
Yeah,
short everything, and then we use acronyms for everything. Every time you go to a new job, you're trying to speak the lingo and talk about I don't know. So yeah, you have to go to the dictionary and go by. Okay, you're talking about this, and then we have to communicate. I bet that's
yeah,
what is
yeah,
the challenge.
yeah.
Yep. And then okay, and then I'm gonna it's picture time now, right? So I'm gonna show you a picture here. Let me know this one. So speak about the significance about this picture.
Significance about this picture. I ended up, you know, retiring my best friend in the Marine Corps uh, a couple of years ago,
Hmm.
and I'm doing the speech right here. I'm doing
Hmm.
his retirement speech after he gets his award, and I get to see his family again, and we get to talk, right? And I was really emotional doing that picture, and just happened that the photographer took that picture and with the flags in the background. And I love that picture, not only because I got to retire my best friend, but also because it signifies a lot, right? A
Hmm.
lot where I came from, and and you have the American flag in the background, you have the Marine Corps flag, and you have all the state flags. So I love that picture just because it shows, at least for me in my mind, what we're defending, what is it that we're doing, and why we're doing it, and the significance of retiring my best friend, right? So at one point or other is I'm going to retire, right? It's
Mhm,
sooner than later,
mhm,
with the number of years that I have.
mhm.
And it's just going to be one of those pictures that I'm going to frame, and I'm always going to have that because that is why we do it, right? That we do it for the United States, we do it for our service, we do it for our families,
Mhm.
and we're doing it for the American people. And I love that picture because of that.
Yeah, it is a great, and it's great to hear the story that you were able to actually retire one of your best friends from the actual service. We meet a lot of friends, and we make them families across this service in the Army, Marines, Navies, Coast Guard, everywhere. And now, so when we retire, a friend of us is like, okay, so I think I'm next soon, so I'm getting there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So it's, okay, so now back in Japan now. So that's where you at right now. So back in Japan. So you
yes,
are the G4 right now for the more assistant chief of staff G4 for Marine Forces Japan. How
yeah.
how how you like that job now that you're in Japan and supporting the force as a logistician?
I love it. I love it. There's a lot of Marines that are working really hard, a lot of sailors and soldiers and Coast Guardsmen and everybody, right? They're working hard in the Pacific. We're the tip of the spear.
Mhm,
They're the tip of the spear. I'm just in the middle.
mhm,
So they're working hard, and I'm trying to facilitate whatever I can to make sure that they're able to do their training exercises and they're able to do, um, their mission and prepare for anything that might come, right? And so I love this. I love Japan. I love the people. The culture is amazing. They're friendly. They're respectful. And everything is thankful, right?
mhm,
Is thank you for doing this, and they greet you, with a thank you, and they say thank you at the end, and it's something that it shows that something that I really love about the culture, right? Thank you for being here, and
mhm,
thank you for coming, right? And it allows you to appreciate everybody's time, allows you to appreciate everybody's contribution, collaboration. It
mhm,
allows you to appreciate what everybody brings to the table, and I love that. So it's a great opportunity for anyone that is out there that is interested. There's great opportunities in the Pacific. I know that is challenging. I know that is away from the United States,
mhm.
and 3 years or 2 years or 1 year is a long time away from families. But we need you, especially if you're a Marine. Don't hesitate to come and volunteer to come to the Pacific.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like a great assignment. I have here my sister. She's married to an airman. She's stationed right now in Germany, but they were in Japan in Okinawa. They spent like 5 years in Okinawa, and they loved Okinawa and the Japan culture.
Yeah, yeah.
I did not have the opportunity to visit them in Japan, which I regret. So at one point I want to go to Japan definitely and visit the culture in Japan. So that is awesome.
It's beautiful. I mean, sushi and the food and the noodles and ramen. I mean, it's delicious food, right? So it's great all around, all
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna show you, I think this is picture time, like the last picture, and then we're gonna start transitioning to other
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So
To close out.
speak about this significant the picture, sir.
It was around the time that Iron Man and Captain America were showing up, right? In
Uh-huh.
the movies and stuff. And I went to a family day, not a family day. I was TAD for something else, but I saw that there was a family day going on outside the building. So I decided to go outside, and I ran into these two Marines that I never got their names, but a Marine is dressed as a Captain American, and the other one is dressed as an Iron Man,
Nice.
right? And I decided that I wanted to get a picture. So I took a picture with them, and they were doing it for their kids. And so it's kind of weird, right? Like this feel great. It's like, hey, I want to take a picture with you too, right? And
Yeah.
but it was great, and I love this picture. So most of the time, I'm like, hey, my friends are superheroes, right? And
Nice.
whenever I make that joke or whenever I say those things, I make sure to show that picture. So whenever I went for a Feel Great of the Year, or for Stratcom, they said they sent a picture that you really like, and I send that picture in, and they put it out there.
That's
And
good.
then
That's
there
good.
was another event that I did. It was like Hispanic Heritage Month or something. I can't remember what it was. And I asked them to put that picture, and that picture went back up there. So I it's one of those pictures that I really like, and it's really fun, and it brings a little bit of the childhood back, and superheroes, and we never stop being kids. We might forget
Yeah,
sometimes that
yeah.
at one point we can laugh and have fun, but we never stop being kids for something that inspires us to
Yeah,
go
so
back.
it's great to see that the leaders can have fun too. It's not only operation go 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 go. Sometimes we have to step back and let that kid out, and you know what I
Yeah,
mean. So
yeah,
I think that's part of the story out here. So
yeah,
so okay, sir. So let's transition now. You're not only the G4 assistant chief of staff G4 from the Marine Force of Japan. You are also the ANSO president, and the people everyone that's watching this podcast, they can see your title. Can you start introducing?
yeah.
Can you explain what is the ANSO, what's the mission, what the core values, and what they stand for?
Well, Association of Naval Services Officers, right? And you see the logo there, you see the title. Is basically it was established back in the 1980s, right? And we didn't have enough officers who of Hispanic descent in the senior ranks, right? And we didn't have as much in the enlisted ranks for a while. Things have changed, but not in the officer ranks. But most importantly, we didn't have that mentorship, that engagement. So this association was built or created to do that, to change that. And the mission since then has been to support the Sea Service chiefs, right? The Commandant of the Marine Corps, the Chief Naval Operations for the Navy, the Commandant for the Coast Guard, the Merchant Marines, and it is basically support their mission and their efforts to in their recruitment, retention, mentoring, and advancement of Latinos, Latinas in the sea services, right? So this association was for that. Um, and it has evolved, it has created, but it continued their vision. And when we start looking at what we have and what we've done, is that this association assists in the mentorship and the retention and the returning of the Latinos, Latinas,
Mhm,
Hispanic community
mhm,
for them to return to the Hispanic community. But it also is all inclusive,
mhm,
and we also have affiliates membership, right, which means for the Army and the Space Force and the Air Force.
mhm,
So this is not just about sea services overall, but this is also about ensuring that we provide a platform or a place where Latinos, Latinas, Hispanics can come in and gain some personal and professional development, get some mentorship, show them opportunities that the military has to offer for those high school kids and middle school kids. And even for those that do not join the service, we provide some, you know, personal development and mentorship, right? So they don't have to join the service. They just got to be in those ROTC units and seek for mentorship, and we're there to support. In the long runs, we right now we're doing two symposiums, right? One symposium that it happens in May to July timeframe. This time around, we're doing July 29th to August.
mhm,
And then the second in Norfolk, Virginia, which is in the East Coast. And then the second one we do is in the West Coast that usually goes in the first week of December, right? We also support Latina Style with the Latina Distinguished Award in September. We had chapters in different cities that provides that mentorship and that engagement and that networking opportunities as well. And we encourage everyone to join us, right?
mhm.
If you're Latino, Latina, come join us. But also remember, we're all inclusive, and if you want to come in, come and join us, and we're never going to kick anybody out, right? So if you want to learn and you want to be exposed to our culture, our mentorship, our professional development, and personal development opportunities, and everything else, come join us. And just now, right? I look at the votes because we put on the board director for vote, and you're going to be one of our board directors, right? So that is a significant impact for us
Yep.
because it shows that as a community we're willing to support each other. But and so it's really important out there. Is making different changes. Is developing. Is improving. Is getting better. Is trying. We're trying to make some different changes so that we can improve the association. It's going to take time, but we're going to get there. And but right now, we're increasing the membership, we're increasing the involvement, we're increasing the volunteers,
Mhm.
and we're never going to turn any volunteers down. And if anybody wants to be a mentor, a volunteer, they can reach out. via the website that you see on the bottom of the screen.
Mhm.
But I believe in the association. I believe in the mission. I believe in the vision. I believe on supporting and defending our country. And this association provides a platform for all of us to be able to learn from each other.
Yeah, so thank you, sir, and I'm honored and humbled to be selected and be part of the team now. For those that's listening right now, Lieutenant Colonel Montalvan approached me. He saw my product. He saw the service journal before it used to be Nuestra Gente en la Fuerza Armada, but we transitioned to the service journal to be more like again inclusivity, right? So we focus on Latinos at first in my platform, but then we open it to everyone in the armed forces. And now I'll be joining in a soon to be new podcast for the ANSO that we're gonna be leading. So if you want to hear more about that, so I'm gonna put all the links below here in this video. You can actually go to www.ansomil.org, and then you can find more information about that. And I think it's a great opportunity for people that are looking for mentorship. I know the people that are doing this in social media, we can impact others without even us noticing it. We can reach a lot of people without and be a group good models to people that are looking for us, because I experienced that from personal experiences. Um, and then I said, so and then like, what about volunteer time? So any volunteer time counts for the MOBSM or the military awards service if soldiers or seamen or Marines want to do voluntary time for ANSA.
Yeah, it does, and we're willing to write letters, right, saying the number of hours that you put in and the number of months that you
Hmm.
have participated in volunteer, and there's specific requirements, right, for the volunteer, outstanding volunteer service medal by
Hmm.
the service, right? So I don't get to dictate if you earned a medal or not. I just got to be able to submit a
Hmm.
letter telling you the hours and months that you participated. But we're willing to do that for anyone that volunteers at the chapter level.
Okay.
Anyone that wants to assist us in different levels, we're willing to do that and make sure that your volunteer hours go towards your servers and for your record, right? Because it's one of our biggest
Hmm.
things is that we provide benefit to the community and we assist our community because it represents us, it
Hmm.
represents our service,
Hmm.
and represents what we do best, right? Encourage others and assist them and try to build a better community for when we return to it.
Yeah, that's an awesome opportunity for those that are looking for to actually record their volunteers time. Because I know in the army sometimes it counts for promotion points if you actually volunteer. Not only that, they give you more experiences out. You're building your resume. If you go to LinkedIn, for example, you can put your volunteer time, and it shows and that you're caring about the community, and we can close that bridge between the armed forces and the actual community that we represent. And ANSO is a great platform to actually start doing this.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm trying to promote ANSO since we're gonna start doing this again. It says the Association of Naval Service Officer. I'm a captain in the U.S. Army, but again, we're trying to merge all the branches all together, not only for the naval, but now the Army and the Air Force and the Space Force. We're gonna continue promoting this. Now, sir. Okay, so I think we're just about to be closing. I'm gonna ask you
Yeah.
a couple more questions. Um, now, I- how you can actually balance your family time with your work time? How you balance it? How you can advise to those that are listening right now on this podcast?
Well, I would go back and say that there's no such thing as balancing.
Mm-hmm.
It's priority, right? It's you got to prioritize
Mm-hmm.
whenever you have to prioritize. There's times that you're going to have to prioritize work over family,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you got to prioritize family over work,
Mm-hmm.
and you just got to find a balance so that you can keep it going back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that way, it's as much as a balance as you can call it, but it's not just as easy as saying it's a balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to make sure that you work towards it, and you got to make sure that you prioritize the significant events and make sure that you don't miss events that you're never going to get an opportunity to see again, right? If there's a graduation, if there's a birthday party, if there's something that your kids or your family or whoever in the family is experiencing or is going through, you're never going to get the opportunity to relive that moment. And even if you video record it, it's not the same, right? The being present is the one that is the biggest. But at the same time, if you have to miss it because of a deployment or because something significant that is going to work, then you prioritize that over the, whatever is going on. Just at a minimum, I would say make sure that you videotape it, you acknowledge the event. And, but, as we're going, as we go higher and higher, there's certain things that are going to be responsible for. We're going to have different requirements and different responsibilities that it's going to take work. So time management is critical. And as you develop as a leader, or as a person, as a husband, as a father, time management is what is going to make you or break you, right? So that is one of the things that we help out. We talk through on the symposiums, and we emphasize those things so that way people take it into account. But I challenge anyone that listens to this podcast to come up, and when you call somebody, say how you doing, and they start talking about work, that you say, no, 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 I'm talking about you, how you do.
Mm-hmm.
So that way they build that relationship and that funness of supporting each other and asking questions about us before we start work talking about work, right? So care about the individual so that way we can prevent any challenges, any issues, because then you're able to provide advice and mentorship, right? But um, caring about our soldiers, Marines, sailors, Coast Guardsmen, and everything else is great. But us as leaders got to go back and also spend some time in asking those questions from our junior officers. And somebody should be asking them of us. So if we do that, it's going to come out and highlight some of the events that you might be wanting to miss that someone else said, no, 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 you are not missing this. You got to go and support your family. You got to go support your kids. You got to support whatever it is. So our leadership is critical for us to ensure that our service members do not miss opportunities that are never going to come back.
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100% in everything you said. Again, it's not a balance. We have to sometimes prioritize something of other things. But yeah, so you have to, again, look on what your priorities are in the moment, and then you have to talk to your leadership about it, and then like always have a mentor. Like if you're in doubt and you don't know where to go, you're reaching a wall. You can actually reach out, and then like always look out, and then find an outlet that can help you to navigate through the process, whether it's going to be personal or uh, professional. I always say.
Yes,
And then,
yes.
what advice would you give to young members or service members that are watching this podcast or listening to this podcast that they aspire to follow a career similar to your career? What advice, final advice, you give to them?
It's not easy, right? It's never going to be easy. Nothing is free. Nothing is given. And I'm going to say it in Spanish, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nadie te va a dar nada por tu cara linda. Nada. Nada te va a dar a ti gratis por nada. Tienes que trabajar. You're going to have to work. Vas a tener que estar dedicado. You're going to have to be dedicated to the mission and to the requirements and stay focused, right? There's going to be all the distractions and all the challenges and different things, and don't be discouraged, right? So number one thing that I would tell, and I've been asked this question a couple of times, and it took me a little bit to like make sure that I was concise and clear. And I'll tell you, there's the number one is don't be discouraged, right? Set your goals, define your goals, and go after them. You got to go after them. If you don't come up and you say, well, these are my goals, these are my dreams, but you don't go after them, you're never going to. They're just going to continue to be dreams. So define your goals and go after them. Number two, and don't be afraid to ask for assistance and help, right? We have this tendency that we think that asking for help and assistance is weakness, and that's far from the truth. And asking for assistance and support or help during the time of need or when you don't know something is actually a strength. It's something you demonstrating that you're strong enough and you know who you are enough to be able to ask somebody else for assistance, right, and help. And lastly, there's going to be challenges and struggles and obstacles, and you're going to fail, and you are going to fail, and you're going to make mistakes. And I still make mistakes, and I still have to learn from them, right? But don't be discouraged. Continue to learn from them. Continue to become a little bit better, and try not to make those same mistakes over and over again. And if you prevent them from happening, or you reduce the number of mistakes that you make, you're going to be progressing. Every day is an opportunity to either get better, stay the same, or just regress. So those will be the three things that I will tell you that are critical for someone that wants to make a life not only in the military but also in the civilian sector, because it doesn't change. Those three things are important either in the military, in the civilian sector, or out of the country, or in the country, or as an immigrant, or as a U.S. citizen. So it really doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or where you're going. Is you got to make sure that you do those three things.
Yeah, thanks sir, for those words of wisdom. For I know a lot of listeners will appreciate. They're seeking for that mentorship. Sometimes, again, I wanna emphasize that if you reaching a wall, just look for mentorship and or network as well, and they'll help you navigate through whatever process you are. Sir, for the last
Yes.
comments, again, what's the symposiums for the ANSO? You can actually say that again. So for the listeners, for the ANSO symposiums.
Yeah, it's July 29th to August for this year in Norfolk, Virginia. Uh, and the Navy, the Coast Guard, and the Marines are going to be sponsoring Marines and sailors and coasties to attend. The Army, if you're in the vicinity, there's membership for that, and there's opportunity for you to register to come. Space Force and Air Force as well. Anywhere you are, obviously the services are not sponsoring, but we'll welcome you to the symposium. The one in December is December 2nd through the 6th in San Diego, California, or in the vicinity of. We still haven't identified the facility and the location, but we're going to get there. But we know the dates, right? That we're aiming to conduct a symposium. And then we have September 19th, when Tina style in Washington, D.C. And there's a couple other events that happens during the chapters events. And we're putting them in social media. We're putting them in the ENSO Instagram. We're putting them in ENSO LinkedIn. We're putting them in ENSO Facebook,
Mhm.
and I'm sharing it in my Instagram. So there's different ways that you can find out about the chapters events that are going on, and if you become a member, you're going to be getting newsletters and all that information. So there's many ways, but to close it out, I would say this, right? Thank you for having me. This was a great opportunity. I had a great fun. Like I had a lot of fun talking to you. I
Okay.
look forward to working with you as the ENSO body of director member. For those who are out there, you know, muchas gracias por estar con nosotros este día. Es bien bonito aquí, bien bonito en la casa que tenemos. Y aprecio que hayan tenido un tiempo para escucharnos, para vernos y por favor sigan haciendo lo que están haciendo, trabajando duro, haciendo lo que tienen que hacer para defender este país y defender a la población que tenemos, todos nuestros americanos, a todos nuestros latinos y toda la gente que vive en los Estados Unidos. Um, as we go through, right, I want to say to every service member that is listening, thank you for what you're doing. Um, we might not think, and we have things that we might have to improve across the services, but we're still the top military in the world. And when we come together as a team in a joint environment, our enemies tremble, and we got to know that.
Mhm.
But the only way that we can continue that is by working together, collaborating, and cooperating with each other, and supporting each other. And I say, go out to recruiting, go out to support each other, go assist, go make this country better, right? Do not just let it take it for what it's worth, right? But don't just let it go. Don't just think that just focusing on you is enough. We got to go there, advise, help out our communities so that we can get better. We got to help those kids because those kids are our future. Don't ever underestimate our E1s, E2s, E3s, O1s, O2s, OE3s, because they're coming from a different environment with creative ideas and more of a desire to make a difference. So I love working with young service members and officers because they challenge me and they challenge all of us. So don't let it go. But I will say once again, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, the stories and the things that I share about my stories, not only mine. It's unique to me, but it's not unique to our countries. There's thousands and thousands of Latinos
Mhm.
and Latinas and immigrants overall out there that experience something
Mhm.
similar to mine, in regardless of services as the police department, medical field, they're out there and they're contributing to this nation. And when we're walking around, hold your head high because you are making this country better, regardless of what you might hear, regardless of the negative things, you are contributing to this country. And I love being a Latino. I love being a Hispanic. I love being an immigrant, and I love being an American. And most importantly, I'm honored and privileged to be a military officer in your, Department of Defense. And I'm here to support anyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, background, gender, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
I'm here to support every single one of y'all. Just reach out and I'll be there. But thank you so much, Semper Fi, and I'm here. Ra.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Great words. For those that want to know more information, I'm gonna post all the descriptions in the description, all the links. I'm gonna post Anzo's Instagram, my Instagram. You can reach out to us. You want to participate, everything? Let us know. We put you in the pocket, sir. Appreciate. Thank you for the time and looking forward to work with you in the near time. Soon, March is gonna be our first Anzo. So stay tuned for those that wanna actually follow. I wanna close out here. Oh, so, hey, so that's all for today's episode with Lieutenant Colonel Jose Luis Montalvan. A big thank you to him for joining us and sharing his incredible story of service and leadership. It's people like him who inspire us to be better and recognize the sacrifice made by those in the military. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. We hope you found inspiration and insight in today's talk. Remember, each one of us can make a difference in our own way. Make a subscribe, subscribe this channel to the Service Journal for more stories like this. I'm Manuel Calo, and it's been a pleasure being with you. Until next time, take care and keep supporting our service member. Let's go.
Ra.